Hello, welcome to Sarah Overbooked. I am Sarah, and today I will be going over my September reading recap. And to start off, we'll go over my TBR for September. I played my Candyland game, and my first prompt was an ebook, and I chose Happy People Don't Live Here by Amber Sparks. The second prompt was an adventure book, and I chose The Princess Bride by William Goldman. The third book was a crime book, and I chose The Pelican Brief by John Grisham. The fourth book was a full TBR random number pick, and that one I chose The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd, or it was chosen for me to be more accurate. The next book was a book with an adaptation, and that was Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. The next prompt was a Tar Pit prompt, and that was to read as much of the Demon Slayer series as I possibly could in the month of September. The next was a series jar pull, and I got Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. Next was a book with a map, and I chose Summers with the Bears, 6 Seasons in the North Woods by Jack Beckland. And the next prompt was a building on the cover, and I chose How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler, with the castle up in the top corner. And the last book, which is the book for finishing the board, was Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. So, first off, we'll go over the books that I did not get to in September, and that would be, starting from the top, working our way down. I did not read The Princess Bride. It did get put onto my October TBR though, so hopefully we can get that done. I did not read The Cartographers. I did not even try to get it from the library. I did not read Memoirs of a Geisha. Also got put onto my October TBR, so we'll try to get to that one again. And sadly, I again did not read How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. And this one I did not put on my October TBR. It's been on 2 or 3 in a row, and time to give it a little break, I guess. So we'll start off with the books that I did read now. I first started with the Demon Slayer series. I was on book 11 in the beginning of September, and I managed to read 11 through 22, leaving 1 book left in the series for October or later. So that prompt, I pretty much crushed it. After that, the next book in September that I read was Happy People Don't Live Here by Amber Sparks. This book was sold as a horror, but this is a little more difficult to categorize than that. It's written partly like a middle grade and partly like a YA, in my opinion. It's a mystery, but if you do classify it as middle grade, then it could also be classified as horror too. Even though the majority of the book is through Fern's perspective, Fern is a 10-year-old girl. There is some of Alice's perspective, which is Fern's mother. So that's where it kind of splits between middle grade and YA. We follow Fern's mother through the beginning of a new relationship that she is starting with another resident of the apartment building that they move into. There wasn't really a part of this that I felt was written as if it was an adult book. It was either YA or middle grade. Alice keeps moving her and Fern around to keep hidden from her ex-husband, Fern's father. They move to an apartment building in Minnesota that was a former sanatorium, complete with a cemetery and quirky neighbors and all the normal accoutrement of that. And one day Fern sees a dead body in the dumpster. But by the time she gets anyone out there to see it, it's gone. And this is where the mystery begins. This is a really good middle grade mystery with a bit of YA drama mixed in, YA relationship drama with the adults. I enjoyed it as that and not as the horror that I went in thinking that this was going to be. The next books that I read, I was also in the middle of Blood on the Tracks series, and I read books 14 through 17, finishing off that series in the month of September. Now, Blood on the Tracks, I didn't particularly enjoy the series. I didn't particularly like the series, but it was interesting enough, I guess, to keep me reading. I wanted to see where it was going. It gave certain hints that it could go in a couple of different ways, but it was a very slow burn, and it drug the story out as basically a 17 episode story of the relationship between a son and his mother that was just completely messed up. The mom kind of went crazy when she was younger, and the son was obsessed with his mother, and I don't know, it kept me reading, but did I really like it? I don't really think so. The next book I read in the month of September was Stolen Tongues. This was a reread. I did this as an audiobook just to have something to listen to while I was at work. When I first read this, I had read so many reviews that this was a terrifying, very scary book. I was looking forward to it being terrifying and scary, but it wasn't. It is well written and it's a good story, although it's a familiar story. I'm not 100% sure where I had seen or read something like it before, but I kept getting flashbacks, so I think it was a movie or a TV show or something. And without the expectations of it being so terrifying and scary that everybody was saying, I probably would have rated it higher, but I didn't. And when I reread it as an audiobook, I kept it as the same rating of a 3. The next book that I read in September was The Pelican Brief. My second John Grisham of the year. The first one, if you saw that, I did not like, and that was a reread. So The Pelican Brief, I also didn't like. It had a okay story, but Grisham's writing style, he was very misogynistic, and it was very sexist, and I just didn't enjoy his writing style and the language of the book, which is too bad because there was a semi-interesting, not very unique story. It's a story that you can see on almost any crime show or in other crime books. But if it's well done, it can be a well done story. This was, in my opinion, not well done. And I'm just not sure if John Grisham is an author for me. And then the next book in September that I finished was Abaddon's Gate, The Expanse, book number 3. Book 3 Abaddon's Gate, Book 3 of The Expanse, has so far been my least favorite. Now, the first one was good. It was a good introduction. And the second one was semi-annoying with one of the characters. She was just annoying through the whole thing. This one, they used the plot of convenience, which just annoyed me. It didn't make any sense with the character that they did it with. I mean, it was there for convenience. It was there to make one of the main characters do something that he could have been written to do it through a means that would have been logical for this character, but instead they made this convenience idiocy. It was just dumb. And every time they brought it up, it just annoyed the living hell out of me. But this one also ended the best, in my opinion. It had the best action, best series of fights, best just the best ending. But I think it's also because the third book is where their contract ended, so they had to have a somewhat believable ending in case they didn't get a new contract for the next part of the series. Unfortunately, because of that convenience plot, and it's the third book in a series, I can't really explain anything other than it was a convenience and it was annoying and didn't really make sense if you thought about the character themselves. So it got, in my opinion, it's the worst of the series so far that I've read. Then The Expanse, I'm doing a buddy read with a friend of mine. We decided that we were going to read the novellas to go along with it, so we decided also to read them in publication order. So we read The Butcher of Anderson Station, also by James S.A. Corey. This is the background novella of the OPA leader. This one was good. I'm not a big short story person. I say that all the time. I wanted more from this one, which I guess is a good thing because they're only giving you a little snippet, and this is supposed to make you want to read more in the series. And I wanted more after this one. But this follows Fred, the leader of the OPA, in the military excursion that he ran that they talked about in Leviathan Wakes a couple of times. This is the story of what that was and how he became to leaving the UN and going to OPA. And then I read The Expanse 2.5, Gods of Risk. This one was about the character in the second book that annoyed me, and well, it wasn't really about her, it was about her family, her nephew, and annoyed me just as much. So basically anything about this character seems to annoy me. So I didn't really like this one, and it didn't really fit in. It was supposed to give a little more information of what life on Mars was like, but it really didn't. It was just her nephew getting caught up in some illegal activities and trying to get out of it. Well, in the background there's protests and whatnot going on. I wasn't all that impressed with this one. And then I read The Queen of the Tearling. The Queen of the Tearling is a fantasy, the first part of a fantasy trilogy that follows the future queen of the Tearling. We see her upbringing. She was brought up in exile, away from everywhere, in hiding, so that nobody would be able to find her and kill her before her 19th birthday, when she would be crowned queen. That was very little of the book. We follow her on her journey on her 19th birthday. The Queen's Guard come and pick her up, and they travel to her keep. And as soon as they get right outside, the troubles begin. She's not even crowned yet, and she's seeing what her uncle, who has taken over after her mother died, has done to her kingdom, and it's not good. So she has a long road ahead of her to get over these horrible choices that her uncle has made and evade any type of assassination that has been called on her head, because her uncle wants to stay reigning, and the monarch of the neighboring kingdom wants her uncle to stay because she has him under her thumb. She needs to get people to trust her as a queen, because as she learns about how her mother ran the kingdom, she learns that her mother was a not so good ruler also. So she needs to make everybody trust her, and along this whole thing, she's also learning about the magic that she holds. I enjoyed this one. I will be reading on in this series. I think I enjoyed it, and I'm slightly afraid because I have a feeling that it's going to change, but there really wasn't any romance. She's a 19-year-old girl, and she got a crush on somebody, but that person she had a crush on is only in the book maybe 3 chapters, so it's not a romantasy, it's not a romance, it's just a crush. If that changes, I probably won't like the series as much, but at this point I am willing to continue and give it more of a chance. So the next thing I read was The Expanse 2.7, Drive, and this is a prequel to the series. This is how the Epstein Drive came to be. It's very short, and it is also my favorite of the novellas that I have read so far, including the ones that I read after this. I would have liked more information again, but it's a short story, and you can't put all of the information I wanted into it, because then it would just be another novel. But basically it's the story of the first time the Epstein Drive is used. It's not how it was made, it's not what happens after, it's just that small area, and then the person doing it has some flashbacks to his life beforehand. And then I read Man, Fuck This House and Other Disasters by Brian Asman. I had an ARC, and it comes out on October 7th, so I had to get it read and write the review as quick as I possibly could, which I actually just did today. But I got it out on time. So, this book, the titular story, is a unique haunted house story that mixes components of both haunted houses and creepy kid stories. It is about a family that moves into a new home in a new city, and soon odd things start to happen. But the odd occurrences that are happening are a bit different than the usual unexplained noises and things moving unexpectedly in haunted house stories. And at the same time, the youngest kid is plotting horrible pranks to pull against his mother. This story, the Man Fuck This House story, is the reason I asked for this arc, because I do like haunted house stories and I try to read as many as I possibly can. So that is the reason why I asked for this arc. The story was unique enough that I was not disappointed. I enjoyed the first story, and there are 6 other stories in this book. Some of them are as unique or more unique to me, at least, as the first one, and some were just variations on a common theme, different names and locations, but seemingly the same story that we've all heard being told before. The writing of the stories, the author's writing made it so that none of them were below average. Even the more common ones, the ones that didn't seem to be unique at all. And that made this, at least in my opinion, a good anthology that I would recommend to people who are looking for some spooky stories. And then I read Summers with the Bears, 6 Seasons in the North Woods by Jack Beckland. This is a short book. It's a nonfiction about Jack and his wife, Patty, living up in, I don't remember, I think it's Cook County. I'm not 100%, but I think it's Cook County, up by Grand Marais in Minnesota. And they start getting bears that come to their yard at season after season, and this is their story of, it's basically the story of them and the first bear that they recognized as coming back, and they named her Little Bit, and she came back 6 years in a row until the last year she didn't. It's a personal experience. It's a well-written story. They were newspaper, they owned and ran a newspaper, so they had some journalism experience, so they wrote for the newspaper. They have writing experience, and you can tell it was a compelling story. It was interesting. The end was kind of sad because the bear never came back, and you don't know what happens to him because it's nature, it's wildlife. And then the next book I read was The Churn, The Expanse 3.5. This is the backstory of one of the main characters, one of my favorite main characters in the book, and this story I did not give a damn about a single person in the story until the very end when they named him. They tried to make it, and they did, because I didn't care, so I wasn't paying too much attention. And the first thing I thought when they gave his name was, there's no way he was that stupid. So that's my feeling on that story. And that is all of the books that I read in September. I ended up reading 27 books, and yeah, that's a lot of books. Because of reading the Demon Slayer and the Blood on the Tracks series in September, I ended up reading 27 books, and I believe my rating for the month is somewhere around 3.7, which isn't bad at all. How did your reading go in September? Let me know in the comments below. Did you read any of the books that I read in September? Are you interested in any of the books that I've read in September? And if you made it this far in the video, leave a bear emoji in the comments and I will comment back. Thanks for stopping, and I'll see you next time.